Welcome to C's Backstage. This is your all-access pass to everything you need to know to design, produce, and inspire your next event. I'm your host, Troy Peters, C's Productions' very own Chief Experience Officer, here to guide you through the world of live event production. Remember to subscribe to the podcast at cspro.com/backstage or wherever you get your favorite podcasts so you too can stay in the know. On today's podcast, we're excited to have Tom Stimson on the line from the Stimson Group. Tom is a business advisor, author, coach, and speaker who works almost exclusively with AV company owners and management teams looking to improve their business strategy, process, marketing, and sales. Tom, welcome to the call.
Thank you guys for having me.
And we've got our perennial leader here, Zack Grant, who's going to, I think today's topic, we really wanted to talk about trends. We're kind of kicking off the new year and sort of see where things are from more of a business. You know, I had given a talk a couple weeks ago about trends in the industry. We talked about artificial intelligence and AR and VR and drones and things, you know, those kinds of trends, but we really wanted to get more into the business trends and things we want to talk about: our labor, workforce, talent acquisition, things like that. Yeah. So that's where we're kicking it off.
The things where the landscape has really changed over the last 2 years, you know, pre-pandemic, the before times versus where we are today. Times. So, yeah.
Right. Well, and that's a great lead-in because, you know, the biggest change is obviously in the talent market, right? We probably lost 50% of our freelance workforce during the pandemic. Some have come back, but we're still 30% down. There's this whole trend that, you know, production companies are dealing with where while the rates have gone up because there's been scarcity and we've had this pricing adjustment for the cost of talent, the quality of talent hasn't necessarily shifted. So just because somebody charges $750 a day to be a camera director doesn't mean they're any good.
Right.
Right. So we're that's the trend, but that's our side. You know, that's that inside baseball thing that we deal with. I think what's probably more interesting is how all of this is changing how buyers look at us. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing some major shifts in buying trends, you know, in since the before times. Yeah. Certainly in the past 2 years, you know, the surge of 2022 really showed us the differences in how buyers are behaving in the marketplace. So I'm going to give you an example. You know, we lost a lot of veteran buyers during the era. You know, Troy and I remember all these price shopping, RFP-driven environments where it was, I need a line item quote because I'm going to compare every item. I'm going to cherry pick all the prices and then throw it back at you to give me the best of every price on every quote that I ever got. Yeah. And try and work a deal. And those people mostly disappeared, during the pandemic. A lot of them retired because, well, they're old people like me. A lot of them couldn't create value in the new buying environment when there was scarcity in the marketplace. Their skills didn't work. So now we've got younger buyers, which is probably great for our customers because they're less expensive. It's great for us because we get to educate them and educate them differently than we educated the previous generation that we taught to be price shoppers. So recognizing the changes in the marketplace and being brave enough, you know, to one, leverage that, you know, take advantage of it in that it is good for everybody, not take advantage of it in, oh, I can trick these people into buying stuff they don't need. No, that's not the game we're playing.
Right.
We can have value-based conversations even though there still may be some price comparison in there. I mean, what are the price comparison trends that you're seeing lately? What's the pushback that you see in your world? How are your buyers behaving differently?
Well, I think, you know, we had a recent success where we really kind of went in, had a good idea of where we needed to land budget-wise, and we went in with, you know, this sort of, when we went into the pitch, when we got to the final selection, and flew to their offices and pitched our idea, we'd already gotten to the round of like, all right, well, your numbers are where they need to be. You're answering all the questions correctly. But getting into that room, we really said, here's your number. But for an extra, I don't know what it was, 15% above your budget or above what we've pitched, you can have this. And then we had a completely rendered out immersive experience in 3D that enveloped the whole room rather than just screens at the front of the room. And that was
Yeah.
To be in that meeting, in that room, and have the lead, like you're pitching to one group, but the leadership, so their leaders are there, and to hear their leaders say, "Can we watch that again?" Right?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot.
Yeah.
The new sell is really big ideas and being able to communicate those ideas. They don't always need to be more expensive, but it does open up that conversation of like, oh, you can do that? Tell me how much more that's going to cost me, because I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, I think
Right.
a lot of people, if you're dealing with the RFPs, the tendency is just to fill out, right? Basically the questionnaire, submit the line items they asked for, and then, turn it in. But the problem is you're going to look like every other proposal that they get, and you don't stand out. So, what we're trying to do, I think, is go a little bit beyond. And I saw that proposal, and it's branded to the company's colors, and you've got these ads, and just trying to demonstrate value, that goes beyond just the line items of hitting the budget and whatever. It's really,
you're speaking their language.
Yeah, and
you're looking at them and helping them to understand.
Right.
Pulling, we talk about that active listening. Really, you're pulling, right? Like we think that they want more, and they did. So.
Well, this is a great opportunity for us to train our buyers how to write a better RFP.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Because so many RFPs are transactional. They inherited a spreadsheet from their predecessor, and they're trying to replicate that and want every supplier to follow the same spreadsheet so they can compare things. But they're comparing the wrong things. What they need to compare is, for a major conference, we've got a general session, which is actually 4 or 5 deliverables built into one thing, because each session is different. We've got the sub sessions, we got the breakout sessions, we have the expo. All of these environments and requests are different. And so if they want to do an effective price comparison, frame the RFP in such a way that I can give you a budget and capabilities for each area of your event, rather than a checklist of things that go into that area, which get bundled into the whole package, and now there's no one who can decipher it.
Yeah.
Right.
So, teaching them to do a better ask. Now they can actually, if everybody responds to the RFP the same way, they can get true value comparisons of what they're getting in each environment, rather than worrying about what this person charged for a video projector and what this person charged for a microphone.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. And you speak a lot about scalability, right? And that's a good example of that same approach that we took for that client. Had always hired one company to do the general session and one company to do the breakouts, but we went in and pitched for both and asked the question, why not, right? But we put a project manager. We pulled that information, learned what was the pain points, or what was the critical piece of those breakout rooms, and we found out through good due diligence and having the right questions, was that a huge portion of the people that are presenting and in those rooms, it's a big engineering corporation, speak German. So we found a project manager, a freelancer that I've known for years, that speaks fluent German, worked for one of the evil empire companies in Germany for many years, and we just put him in the RFP right off the top and said, this is and literally in the presentation said, this is your Swiss Army knife. This is the guy who can do it all and speaks the language.
And that's exactly the kind of research that our sales community needs to do a better job of.
Yep.
Right. Look at your customer, watch their videos from last year events. They're on YouTube somewhere.
Yep.
There's so much information out there, so you can figure out where their pain points might be. They may not even realize them until you say, here's something that we do, which I think will make your meeting better. They go, oh, you're right. We really sucked at that.
Right.
So we need to do that research, but responding to an RFP, doing that comparison so that we can demonstrate value. So I love what you guys did with that. Your case study here is that you gave them, here's what you can do for your budget. Here's what you could do if you had a little bit more budget, which is exactly what good event planners should be asking for.
Yeah. And there was little hesitation on spending the extra, which was really great.
Yeah. I mean, so Tom, you work a lot with AV company owners like myself, and a lot of us still deal with line item pricing and these objections over budget. And do you have any specific tips and tricks? We're talking about this one, but any tips, tricks to help overcome that, or even on the buyer side, help them see, maybe that's, like I said, not the right way. I think, to ask for their AV.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a couple things here. When you're having a sales conversation, you've got to frame expectations, right? You just nod and say yes over and over again and back yourself into a corner. At some point in time, you have to take control of the conversation and say, well, here's how we do it. Okay, here's how we learn about your event. Here's the process we go to get to your numbers. I can't just respond to an RFP. We need to have these conversations. I need to understand not only how you want things done, but why you want them done.
Yeah.
So once we get them into that conversation, we're not talking about an RFP anymore.
Right.
Here's the trick. If the buyer refuses to have that conversation, move on.
Yeah.
Not everybody's your customer.
Right.
There are some people who, just like we have many people in our sales force who are transactional sellers, we call them order takers. You have a lot of buyers out there that are just order buyers,
mm-hmm.
right? And they don't know how to have a strategic conversation. They don't know how to advocate for the needs of the event. They're only advocating for the needs of a budget, which is not a great place to try and create value.
Right.
So be willing to step back and say, this is not the kind of relationship that we are working towards. Here's how we could help you if you would let us.
Yeah. There was a point in time where we tried to be everything to everyone. And, I think of the restaurant menu now where it's 72 pages long and you have no idea what's good or not. So Tom helped us kind of find our direction. And
it's the Cheesecake Factory, right?
It is.
You've got a 72-page menu and every portion is huge.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're getting, it's like,
Yeah.
and you could order one portion for 4 people, right? So let's don't be Cheesecake Factory. Let's be a little bit bespoke without being customized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
I've enjoyed saying no to the right customers.
It's wonderful. It's a great feeling.
Yeah, and there's even recently another win that was a customer that said no to us a year ago. A customer that had worked with us, but had said, we can't go up to the budget that you need, so we're going to try somebody else.
Yeah.
Sure enough, right after that show, it was like, we understand now. We're ready to come back. So sometimes you got to let them go so that they'll realize.
Right. Sometimes, a lot of people like to worry about what the competition is going to do in any given situation.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself, let the competition have the job. They are your best advertising, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to wait a year to get a customer for life, but it's worth the wait.
Yeah. That's true. So we talked a little bit about sales. What about back to the labor side of things? So, that example I shared about somebody that on our team that can speak German, there you go. That's a value add. That's somebody you can charge a little bit more for. That's somebody that's going to get the job done on a level that nobody else is thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the key here is that we don't charge for the person. We charge for their capability.
mm-hmm.
And regardless of who you put in the job, you still need a capability. Now, creating a value add that, hey, this person also speaks German, which is going to be very valuable in this situation. Well, is there an additional cost to that? Maybe, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
There's additional value,
Right.
which is what's important. And we've got to work harder on making it clear how talent creates value. And there's a couple of things here. One is don't underprice them. Right. Everybody wants to pay less until they get somebody who was worth what they paid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So we've got to change that conversation and said the type of people, the meeting that you're describing can't be done with $500 a day people successfully.
Right.
Right. Except, and this is the counter that you'll hear, Zach, well, the guys that have done it for us for years only charged us $500 a day. And well, then why are you talking to us? Well, they've had some trouble.
Right.
Okay. So nothing against them. We created false expectations with talent pricing, but we also create false expectations by piling too many jobs onto our talent.
Yeah.
So the other trend I'm seeing is in defense of talent pricing, we also have to defend professionalism,
mm-hmm.
right? We don't need heroes to save the day. We need processes that will deliver a quality product with professionals executing the work.
Yeah.
So if you hire better people to do shows and you give them a well-processed project, it is going to go extremely well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, for the longest time, I thought gear was the difference. And we used to kind of run the company that way, where I would buy pieces of gear that were a little bit different than the guy down the street or whatever. And I was like, oh, I thought that's how we were getting jobs. They wanted the Nexo Line Array instead of the JBL or whatever. And it's not until the last couple of years that it really hit home that if you don't have the right people on the job and you got the best gear, they're still going to screw it up. So, you know,
people in the process
or capable of screwing it up. I shouldn't say going to screw it up, but yeah. So really, the people make the difference. So I mean, how for the AV provider do you recommend, you know, conveying that value of, you know, I'm going to get the right people on this job versus this person when all they're looking at is proposal that says $900 a day or whatever it is.
Great question. If you're starting with an RFP, before you talk about a piece of technology or technical capabilities, add up the talent that's going to take to do the job. You've got schedule, you've got changeovers, you've got rehearsals, you have shows, you know what positions you need based on the general spec of the job. Before you spec a single piece of gear, put the talent together. And then talk about how this is the talent you need to get the execution that you're looking for. Now, chances are you just spent 75% of their budget on talent.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Now we're not talking about the scope of the equipment. We're talking about how they're going to reduce their ask to better meet their needs, because the only way to reduce the talent is reduce the scope.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we start with talent, here's the people I'm going to need to do the job that you're asking for, and then we're going to add some gear to it.
Yeah.
And just change again. We got to change the conversation. It's not how do we get to your budget? How do we get to your show?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think coming out of the pandemic, we saw a lot of that where there was so much fear and failure because so much of it was out of your control. But really, if you have the right person there, if something does start to go south, something does start to fail, that person's going to be able to pull it through.
Yeah.
Right? That individual. So that value is so high now, higher than it's ever been.
Well, you know, understaffing a show, an event, is a terrible false economy.
Mm-hmm.
You're not saving anything. You're just increasing your dependence on heroes. You know, people who seem to have four arms, and who can save the day. I'm not going to entrust my business to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to entrust my client's event to that. I want to be able to reliably crew this job with talented professionals any time of the year, and this is what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm.
I need to sell it at a price I can buy good talent at, and then I need to deal with customers that think the execution is as important as, or more important than the brand name on a piece of gear.
Yeah. You know, it's such a weird tendency too, right? When you're building those proposals, like being the one building them, like, okay, I need this backup piece of gear, this backup piece of whatever.
Yep.
I never go, oh, I need this backup person.
Yeah.
You know, didn't used to.
I think pre-pandemic, we always saw like, well, why is the record up? He's just pressing record. Can't he also do PowerPoint or something like that? But again, you're setting yourself up for failure, right? Like somebody's got to be there, and then they'll get the records at the end of the show. It's like, why is there a buzz, or why the volume's not loud enough? We didn't have anybody listening or watching during the whole thing because
that's right.
We were combining roles, and that's not what we want to do.
Yeah, we're not just pressing record. We're monitoring record. We're making adjustments. We're preventing future problems. We're creating product that can be used in post-production.
Yeah.
That's the deliverable. The deliverable's not hitting a button.
Right.
And post-production is so high now. That is another thing that's changed so much. They want to capture that content and stuff. And it's that, you know, I don't want my pilot could load my plane put all the luggage on the plane for me, but I don't want him doing that. I want him to focus.
I still don't think clients are actually using that content, but who's going to have a meeting and not record it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So are there any trends that you're happy have emerged post-pandemic or maybe not as happy about and compared to the before times, or?
Well, the thing I am most happy about is getting the price on talent adjusted. I think we're at the right number now. I think if you haven't raised your prices, if you haven't raised your prices twice since 2020, you've completely missed the boat, and you've probably missed your window of opportunity for your existing customers to do that with. But I think that's good because that's going to attract more professionals. We still have to weed through the chaff because there's some people out there who aren't worth what they want to get. But that's the onus is on us. That's what we do for our clients is we vet talent.
Yep.
Right. That's the most valuable thing we do is put the right people in the field. It has to be a core competency. So I'm glad that focus is back because that is my background. I started out in staffing. I was a freelancer. I brokered crews. And then, when I worked at, Alfred Media for all those years, our talent pool was the most sacred thing. Right. That's the one thing we would never compromise on. It's like whatever it costs to get the right people to the job, that's what we brought. Every job got the same touch, got the same treatment. So I'm glad to see that we're back in a place where we can do that. Doesn't mean that all of our supply chain, all of our peers are doing that.
Right.
It's just better for us, right? It's better for those of us who understand that that's important. There's always going to be people who are going to sell on price, and they still think equipment's where you make money, but it's not. But, they also serve who are bad examples, and they're going to be out there. So that's the thing that I'm most excited about. I'm not sure what I see as a real downside.
Well, I suppose all the people that left the industry would be the downside, right? So we could talk about what we can all do to maybe improve, the number of qualified people that are out there again.
Yeah, we've started talking about, just before the call, we were saying we're looking at getting an internship program in place, or maybe working with the local chamber of commerce to start having workflow conversations.
Here's I've had a lot of conversations with people who want to do training programs, get some entry level training, help recruit people who seem to have the right spirit, because it's not hard to teach what we do. You just have to teach it to the right person. Right. So being more attractive. Now, 30 years ago, we all did this. This was the only way to grow your business. No one had any experience. There was no senior talent pool. Okay. The talent pool, the median age of our talent pool was 30.
Right.
When I was 25.
Yeah.
Right. So now the median age of our talent pool is probably in their 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a whole generation of business owners had the luxury of hiring people that other folks had trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So getting back to that, creating a career path for entry level people is very important, but do not hire everybody thinking that they're going to become show talent. Make sure that the career paths in your organization are clear. There are people that I hired to work in warehouse operations 25 years ago who are still there.
Right.
And not everybody's destiny, is to be a video camera director on a show site.
Yep.
Not everybody's destiny is to be an international production manager. Yeah. Some people are going to show up and do a great job every single day with a good attitude, and we need to make career paths for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I can do a little bit of everything, but I don't love doing it all.
Yeah.
I love doing what I do. So getting that right seat is so important. And it's something we've been really pushing here at C's. And I think we've really got it in a good spot now where people love doing their work.
Yeah. But it is an everyday thing. I mean, we're in every labor meeting we have every week, we're talking about, onboarding more freelancers and, making sure that we are putting like constant energy into that to making sure that we're all, because it's changing all the time, right? People retire, they move, they take a full-time job, or now they're back. And so it's just like, it's not something that you can just, I've got 500 people now, I'm good to go.
Right. Yeah. Always be recruiting.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, Tom, thank you for taking the time. Is there anything you want to leave us with? Any nuggets of wisdom from Mr. Tom Stimson?
I do want to give that plug to scalability and how important it is to be talented at outsourcing. There are lots of companies that we can work with that can support our events. You provide the magic, somebody else can provide the feet on the ground or the equipment, and you provide the knowledge, and we need to focus on getting our processes so that we can deliver consistent results every single time and not be dependent on heroes on show site to pull things off.
Yeah.
Right? That's not what our clients aren't paying for us to wing it successfully. They're paying us to come in and succeed intentionally.
Yes, that's very well put. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. And if you have no idea what that means or how to become scalable, you can give Tom a call.
Yes.
You can find me at trstimson.com. I look forward to
Perfect.
chatting with you.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Tom. We really appreciate you having you on the call to kick off our new year.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great year.
Awesome. This has been C's Backstage, your all-access pass to everything you need to know to design, produce, and inspire your next event. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast at cspro.com/backstage, and you too can be in the know. Thanks, everybody.